The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Goal! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC! What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix on, you'll find us there at Insert Name FC. Let's see, where else am I going with this? You can also find these videos are usually cut in shorter video form, so it's a little bit more easier to follow. Because sometimes an hour-long video can be a bit much sometimes, and I get that. So we break these episodes down into like short video forms, which you can find that on YouTube at Insert Name FC. Pretty straightforward as well. And also you can find us on Golz TV. GolzTV. It is a streaming platform where you can find a lot of originally made content, soccer content made here in the, I want to say US of A, but honestly, it's also a mixture of international content creators as well. But if you want to see original content creators, maybe you're kind of tired of the quote unquote experts talking about the beautiful game. Well, go over at Golz TV, GolzTV, and you'll get what you want. You'll find me. Insert Name FC obviously is available on there, but you can also find Yanks the Round Table and Wake Up MLS, which is some of the original programs that Golz TV offers. You'll see me on Wake Up MLS plenty of times. But yeah, so that is something to check out. So, and of course, follow us on social media at Insert Name FC on Instagram, X, and Facebook, and on insert.name.fc on TikTok. So yeah, that's how you can check us out and see all the content that we made here. This past week, last episode, I didn't actually make any video clips. Yeah, that's my bad on my part. It was also like the episode was fairly short. It was just MLS Cup and Liga MX, so there wasn't really no things to really talk about. So I kind of just decided not to do any video clips. But that was on me. But in this week's episode 198, we have overreactions. We got headlines. We're going to be talking about Don Garber getting an extension with MLS as MLS commissioner. We're going to talk about Edoardo Bovard, what happened over there at Fiorentina. And we'll talk about some rainbow armbands and how that is a discussion. But we're going to have the discussion. It's probably going to be a little, I don't want to say contradicting, controversial. Can be controversial depending on how you stand on this particular topic. But like I said in this podcast, like if it's something that needs to be discussed, I will discuss it, and that's just my thing. We're gonna look at the semifinals of Liga MX. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording right now, it is actually Cruz Azul and Club America are playing their second leg to decide. Monterrey has already advanced. They already defeated Atlético San Luis, so they're advancing to the final. But you'll see. But yeah, so right now Cruz Azul and America are playing. So if you guys want to get some context there, but we'll probably record that on Monday. But that'll be featured in the episode. And of course, MLS Cup, the final is over. Congratulations to Los Angeles Galaxy for winning. We'll go in more details of that final. No Players Week. Once again, no more Players of the Week because we're going to be announcing our Player of the Year award. So make sure you guys go on our social media to vote for your Player of the Year. Not vote for your player of the year. Vote, give your each of our player of the weeks. You guys can give an additional vote to help improve their odds of winning the player of the year award. That's what I was saying. Give you guys some games to watch this weekend, and yeah, wrap this show up in a pretty little bow for you. So should be a pretty straightforward episode. It is just me once again. But yeah. Also, by the time you're watching this episode, because still dropping these on Wednesdays, this will be the last time we're dropping it on Wednesday this week, because obviously Liga MX by the time the next week's episode drops, it has already happened. So we'll be going back to doing Thursday episodes, which actually that episode will be our end of the year episode. So yeah, all right. So there you go. So yeah, so definitely go and start voting for your for the player of the year award, because next week's episode will be our end of year episode where we will wrap the first half of the seasons. So there won't be any headlines. It will just be talking about each league, where they are at the moment and things like that. But yeah, so yeah, so like I said, reactions, headlines, Liga MX Playoffs semifinal recap, final preview, and recapping MLS Cup games to watch. And yeah, that's going to be a pretty fun episode. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. You're going to hear a great ad, and then we'll go right into our reactions.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of BellyUpSports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys, our reactions this past week. So it has been announced the drawings for the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup has been announced. As you guys know, I have been very anti FIFA Club World Cup. I'm still not necessarily fond of the FIFA Club World Cup, but I mean, obviously we still are going to have to cover it because it is the game. But like I said, man, the way we're doing these summer tournaments now is we're just gonna cover that. We're not gonna we'll essentially have our off season. So, but they did do the drawing for the groups for the teams that are participating in this year's tournament. And I mean, I gotta say, give props to FIFA, man, for them to still try to make it appear that this tournament is going to happen. I don't know if they've have found a person to cover to find a broad. I don't think they found a broadcast deal yet to who's gonna cover this tournament. I know once again Apple TV offered to do it for I think $1 billion, which is a three quarters less, 4 times less than what they wanted. They actually wanted 4 billion for this tournament, but yeah, that should probably be telling in some sense. But anyways, so the groups were announced. They have drawn the groups, so we know who's playing who next summer. Or I guess this summer. Yeah, it's this summer. So, all right. So in Group A, we have Palmeiras of Brazil, Porto of Portugal, Al Ahly of Egypt, and MLS's very own Inter Miami that, obviously is currently being laughed at right now because of the fact that they got eliminated by a wild card team after having the best, quote unquote, best season. Well, they didn't. They did have the best regular season for an MLS team, but then getting eliminated right away in MLS Cup is pretty hilarious. But yes, they are the host city. They'll be kicking off the tournament, by the way. So the first game actually will on June 14th will be Al Ahly versus Inter Miami. And a lot of people are saying that they tried their best to give Inter Miami the easiest group humanly possible, which I don't think is necessarily an easy group because you're going up against Porto, a really good team in Portugal. Palmeiras, I mean, they're of a name. You know that if you know Brazilian football, you know that Palmeiras is a pretty good team. Al Ali, I'm not very familiar with Egyptian football, but that is a name that at least I've heard of. So it's not going to be an easy couple matches, but it will be interesting to see how that all pans out. Like I said, man, I may be anti this tournament, but like I said, I'll still watch it and I'll still cover it in some aspect. But yeah, Group B is going to be France's own PSG, Spain's Atletico Madrid, Brazil's Botafogo, and the U.S.'s very own Seattle Sounders. That is Group B. It's an interesting group. Yeah, I'm going to be praying for Seattle because that is not an easy group to be in. Group C is Germany's Bayern Munich, Australia's Auckland City, Argentina's very own Boca Juniors, and Portugal's Benfica. So that's actually gonna be a pretty interesting group. I might be intrigued to watch some of these. I wonder if any of these are gonna be in Texas. But maybe not. But because I think also the Gold Cup, Texas is gonna be hosting some Gold Cup games. I don't know about anything else like that. But in Group D, we got Brazil's Flamengo, Turkey's Esperance. Oh no, Tunisia. My apologies. Esperance de Tunis. London's very own Chelsea, England, if you guys don't know where London is, and Mexico's Club Leon. That is Group D. Group E is Argentina's River Plate, Japan's Urawa Red Diamonds, Mexico's own Monterrey, and Italy's Inter Milan. I think that's a interesting group of teams as well. Group F is Brazil's Fluminense, Germany's Borussia Dortmund, Korea's Ulsan HD, and from South Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns. I love these African team names, by the way. Group G, we have Manchester City from England. We got Morocco's Wydad AC, United Arab Emirates, Al Ain, and Italy's very own Juventus. Group H, we got Spain's Real Madrid, my club, Real Madrid. Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal, Mexico's Club Pachuca, and Austria's Red Bull Salzburg. I would say Real Madrid should be running away with that, and that is the final group. So those are the groups that are participating in the first ever FIFA Club World Cup. They unveiled the trophy, which is a plate, but you can spin it. So little John Cena influence on that one. But is the names interesting? Yes. Do I still have a lot of questions behind how this tournament is going to function? Yes. So like I said, as much as I'm very anti this tournament, I'm going to cover it because it's here in the US, and two, it's a thing. So very similar to like if the European Super League would have happened, I would have still have covered it. As much as I didn't like it and what it represented, I still would have covered the tournament. Like as much as I said what I said about it. But anyways, that is my take from it is that obviously the teams participating in it, it's a variety of teams from different parts of the world. I think here in the US it's a little interesting because obviously you have so many people from different parts of the world that live here in the US that I think it's going to be cool to see some of those Egyptian fans, some of those United Arab Emirates fans that go go support these clubs that are not your non-traditional teams that people support. Obviously not the teams from Spain or England or from Germany and Italy. It's even the Brazilian teams, or the Argentinian teams, or it's gonna be those other teams that I think that it's gonna be cool to see them get their moment in the sun, if you will. And so that's gonna be cool for them. It's a cool opportunity for them. Once again, I get like a huge Fire Fest vibe from how so far the FIFA Club World Cup has been looked at. From the one, obviously, still haven't been able to find a broadcast deal, and that seems pretty important to have. Um, so I think that there's going to be some things that I still have a lot of questions for, but aside from that, it's still going to be a tournament that's going to be watched. It's going to be people are going to either criticize for how it's being be presented. If it does happen, there's going to be a lot of criticism to it, and if the tournament turns out to be really cool, people are going to praise it, despite all the questions that came from it. So it's still going to be something to pay close attention to. That's all I'm saying. Literally all I'm saying. But all right, that's our reactions. Go right into headlines, man. So first headline is Don Garber, 2027. So the MLS commissioner has signed a contract extension that goes all the way through till 2027. Mind you, this has been the only commissioner MLS has ever had. He took the role in 1999, and that was in a time where MLS was just not looking good. They weren't great. They weren't doing great in financially. The numbers weren't making sense to the point where there was potentially a potential folding. Like MLS was gonna have to discontinue because it wasn't looking good for them. It wasn't panning out, and so I think that there was a lot of concerns about whether or not MLS was worth it. Robert Kraft of the New England Revolution, most of you guys know him for the New England Patriots. If you're American, ends up reaching out to Don Garber about becoming the commissioner for MLS, and to just get you guys a real understanding of Don Garber. Don Garber has never been a soccer guy. Maybe he has developed a fandom now for soccer, but like he was just here to come correct the fine the all the essentially he was here to fix the finances of the MLS and try to get them in a better position, which he has. And he even stated plenty of times, he's like, I didn't know anything about soccer. I didn't really care for it. And yeah, now he's here. And since then, like, I mean, look at the strides that MLS has gone since he took over back in '99. He helped one. Obviously, MLS is still here, so he definitely did his job as to prevent it from folding. But yeah, MLS has come a very long way since the early years. Obviously, some things that are, I mean, you got to think about it. Under his eye, under his supervision, he's been able to bring in a Thierry Henry, has been able to get this league appealing enough to bring in a Thierry Henry, being able to bring in a David Beckham, bringing in a Lionel Messi, and there's people trying to start clubs for trying to get in MLS now. We are now to 30 teams now, obviously including the new team San Diego FC. So it's a lot of things that Don Garber, when he came in, has taken massive strides with, and it is the team that it is, the league it is now. I believe they're going into the 30th anniversary of the league's existence. And I mean, there's more changes that are possibly being talked about. Things like a potential schedule change in a way to prevent schedule congestion. Obviously, it's been not only a discussion in MLS, but just across the world, that there's just too many games being played right now. The schedule congestion is very much a thing, and MLS considering moving from a what is it a spring fall season to now a fall spring, so starting in August and then ending it in May, which, I mean, some people may see that as like, well, I think of it as a positive, because obviously the fact it now falls in line with everything else in the world. Like, everyone else uses that same exact schedule, even Liga MX, and so I think that is a good thing. I'm actually for that change Personally, I hope it does happen because it makes sense for transfers. It makes it things a little bit easier, especially when you're trying to go and lure in these like older, high profile names to come to the league. Instead of having them come in after their season's over and come right into the middle of another season that's currently going on, like most of them are now able to go into an off season, actually get familiar with the team, get familiar with the tactics. It makes it an easier transition. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, um, there's hopefully some changes to the salary where you're able to you know the DP and under 22 initiative, that's a whole thing that I'm still necessarily not fully all in on. But I will say eventually as the league progresses and hopefully improves, those salary restrictions or player acquisition rulings and all that, it's gonna change. Like it's probably gonna move away from it, or it's gonna get the salary cap is gonna get larger, things like that. And I think that's a good thing, and I hope it does happen. And then I think more changes to the league format as well is going to happen. I don't think that the league is not. I don't think they're done expanding. I don't. I think that they're going to try to bring in more teams. I'm sure to the point where they're gonna have to start having that discussion of, and do I care about promotion relegation? I think I used to, but now that I see why promotion relegation doesn't necessarily make sense in America, because once again, this league is very young, and the whole concept is trying to get people to like this league. And if you go and start this, you're going to confuse a lot of Americans that don't understand soccer. And people are like, why do we care about them? We do care about them because in order for MLS to get bigger, you got to be able to lure those fans in. Just the straight up the casual. Like the diehards are one thing, but the diehards are a small percentage. The large percentage is the casual fan, the fan that goes every once in a while. Those are the fans that you're trying to keep. And so if, they all of a sudden like, oh, I like the Houston Dynamo. I want to know more about the Houston Dynamo. And maybe it was a year the Dynamo were terrible, and then they get relegated, and they're like, what's the second division? Oh, well, I don't want to watch them play in a lower league. I want to watch them play in the MLS. Now, no one's watching it. And once again, it's the diehards that are still there. And the thing is with me, like, I think that the difference of Europe versus here is the community sense, right? The sense of community that those clubs have established, even to the point now where people that aren't even from that community has some sort of connection. Like, I think the best example is the video that leaked out, that came not leaked out, that came out, that Nottingham Forest posted, right? They had a fan that's from Japan, never has been to a Nottingham Forest game, and finally gets to go to a Nottingham Forest game, and you can see like the passion that he had for that club. Mind you, this guy has no connection as far as living it in where Nottingham Forest is located, has no connection to the city, has no real connection to that community, but you sense his pride in that club, and you can feel his, the how big that feeling was. And I think that that's the same thing. Like if I ever go to the Bernabeu, I've never been from, I'm not from Spain. I'm not from Madrid. I didn't grow up in Madrid. I don't speak Spanish, but I have a love and passion for Real Madrid. That is my club. That's who I root for. If I walk into the Bernabeu and singing, A la Madrid y nada más, that's gonna tug some strings for me. Like it's gonna be a huge moment, and and once again, like even watching, Real Madrid here in Houston, like when when I watch it with other Madridistas, whether it's the Champions League final or whatever, you can sense the passion that we have for this club, and so I think, and I don't think MLS necessarily has that, and because like the casual Madridista is, most of them are diehards. Like I'm a diehard Madridista. Like I'm not a casual. Like I don't view myself as a casual. But there's people that just watch Real Madrid, just watch Real Madrid, and and it's a big name, right? And that's where oh, they get an Mbappe. Now people want to buy the Mbappe jersey. I mean, Chicharito's a prime example, right? They got Chicharito, they sold a shit ton of Chicharito jerseys because obviously Mexicans support the hell out of each other. But I'm trying to. Oh, I'm kind of going back into this. Why I don't think I just don't think that like MLS promotion relegation isn't going to improve MLS. And I get that, oh, there's no punishment if you're the worst team. And I get those things. I get those things and wholeheartedly. But like getting the first pick in the MLS draft, you've heard me to the point of ad nauseum that I don't see the value of the MLS draft. And it's because these guys are picking guys and they're not playing them. It's always been my thing. So aside from that, what other they don't not being last place doesn't get you anything. You don't gain anything. You don't get extra money for being in the playoffs. You don't get nothing. You get nothing. And so besides the first a number one the first overall pick. But aside from that, that's like nothing. That means nothing, especially here in the MLS. So I think that the idea that there's no that these teams like that finish last place, they don't get relegated. I think eventually there is going to be a discussion for promotion relegation because you can't be adding more teams, more expansion teams. Um, you can't be adding all these teams if you and not get start thinking about having different levels, different divisions, and you're gonna have to start talking about promotion relegation. You're gonna have to eventually have that discussion at some point. I don't think it's now, because once again, I think this just if your goal is to try to gain those casual fans, having promotion relegation doesn't do it. And I'm sure that I think there's some guy that's on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called, that is very much against promotion, that's very for promotion relegation, and thinks that if promotion relegation was here, that the growth of the game is going to be tremendously better. I don't think that. I don't think that that is the correlation to the growth of the game. The real correlation to the growth of the game is by putting more emphasis on the academies. When the academies start being more better utilized by these MLS teams, that's where I see the growth in the game being better. I don't Promotion relegation is just a thing that Europe does, and that we see the drama of a relegation battle. I get that. I get that tremendously because I love following those relegation battles, because there is pressure from those relegation battles. But for me, I just don't think it's not the end all be all for for the growth of the game here in the US. I don't think promotion relegation hurts or improves anything as far as the growth of the game. The growth of the game is going to come from the academies, and eventually when we start seeing these academy products, playing internationally, like when we see Caven Sullivan finally, when he gets his shine at Manchester City, whenever that happens, obviously it's when he turns 18. But when he does play for Manchester City, and he's an impactful player, and he's getting acknowledgement for Ballon d'Ors and winning. Like, I don't know if that's what's going to happen to him, but I'm just saying, like when we start seeing like players, homegrown players, being able to be put up in the conversation as the world's best, that's when we'll say that the growth of the game is. But like I said, promotion relegation doesn't do that necessarily. So, uh, look, I think at least initially for me, I did feel like Don Garber maybe, as far as needing a businessman, I think we were good now. We're good the situation that we're in now. Obviously, we got this Apple TV deal. The growth that we have now because of Messi. I think that as far as on a business aspect, we're doing the right things. But now it's to grow the game, grow the football. And I think we needed to go after a commissioner that understands that. And as much as I applaud on Garber, I do think that we should have had somebody else come in for the commissioner. But hey, I'm fine with it if he continues to keep growing the game. Perfect. But eventually, we do need some people. We do need somebody to come in and be able to improve the academies and making academies. Maybe I don't know what you would have to do with pay to play, but that's more of a U.S. soccer issue, not a MLS issue. But more initiatives towards MLS academies, and I think that would be where, once again, growth of the game is more important in that aspect than it is promotion relegation. And I said what I said. If Ben Fast wants to say something to me, he can say something to me. But all right, moving on.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
Edoardo Bovard. So if you guys aren't familiar, Edoardo Bovard is a 22-year-old Italian who currently played with Fiorentina, who he's actually on loan from Roma. But he played in a match against Inter Milan that actually the match stopped because in the 16th minute, Edoardo Bovard collapsed in the middle field. It was a non-contact. He just went down. There was no contact. He wasn't, so the game was stopped immediately. Very much similar to what happened to Christian Eriksen in the Euro. If you guys remember, Christian Eriksen collapsed in the middle of the game. And obviously it was not an easy sight. Immediately, all the players in that game, on that match, formed a circle around Bove, because once again, it's not an easy sight to see someone who is at that moment basically fighting for their lives, because that's what happened with Christian Eriksen as well. They were able to get him put in an ambulance and rushed him into the hospital. They have said now that he is stable and that he will need a defibrillator, which is very similar to what happened to Christian Eriksen. They installed a defibrillator on him to make sure, once again, to keep his to prevent him from having a similar incident. But the thing is, if deciding to get the defibrillator installed, which Bove chose to get it installed, in the Serie A, they have a rule where players can't compete with heart-starting devices, a defibrillator, which is also the same reason why Christian Eriksen had to leave Inter Milan. And if you guys remember, I don't know if he played for he played for somewhere in the Eredivisie, and then now, obviously I believe now he's still with Manchester United. So Bove accepted getting the operation done to get the defibrillator installed into him, knowing that this is essentially him terminating his contract with Roma. As a matter of fact, there are actually negotiations with Roma to terminate his contract, and he would have to, once again, because of the fact that Serie A has this rule in place that they cannot have heart-starting devices in them to play in. They can't compete in Serie A. He's going to have to look outside of the Serie A, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not like his career is over. He just can't play in Serie A. So he can still play in, Eredivisie. He could play in the Belgium League. And, if he's good enough, he'll maybe find his way in the Premier League or find himself in La Liga, wherever he ends up going. But I think it's great that we're now learning from what happened with Christian Eriksen. And I don't think there's anything bad about Serie A. I don't think any Serie A are terrible for having this rule. I think it's, more so just it's a health concern. And I think that there's nothing it's nothing to take away from Serie A. I don't think this is a jab towards them. But I mean, for Bove, he does want to continue. If he does want to continue his career, I'm sorry for yawning. If he does want to continue his career, he would just have to play in another league. And I mean, it's not the end of the world at all. So we'll see. We'll see what happens for him. Right now, it's just him getting better. Getting better. Get the heart defibrillator installed into him, and start adjusting with that, because I'm sure that there's at least an adjusting period when you have that installed on you. Um, but the good thing is that he's alive. Uh, that Syria, well, at least like the referees and all the staff that was the medical staff, they took action right away. And I think that's the part that really matters, is that we're not talking about Edoardo Bove as a casualty. We're talking about Edoardo Bove as he lived, he survived, and I think that that's what we should take away from it. Not that Syria isn't going to let him play because now he has a defibrillator inside him. So I think that that's what matters, and we'll see what happens with Bove. He's going to be someone we'll keep up to, obviously, because hopefully he does able to continue his career. And America scored a goal. You see, I think they're showing the replay. Looks like it's going to be a golazo if this is what I think it is. Well, it's outside the box, but yeah. So America has the lead. So who would have called that? Anyways, but yeah. So I'm happy that Bove took the initiative to get the defibrillator installed, and hopefully he's able to start his career, continue his career, hopefully. Which, I mean, Christian Eriksen, I mean, still did fairly well for himself. Obviously playing for Manchester United and all that, but yeah. Now the final headline. This is probably gonna be the longest one, but all right. So if you guys haven't been following the Premier League, but the Premier League, the clubs were promoting inclusivity and support for the LGBTQ plus community. Some things that they gave out that they were doing during this period was captains given these rainbow armbands. They were actually provided rainbow laces for the boots, so players had like rainbow laces on for their cleats. And then the corner flags were even having the rainbow flag. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, in doing anything that promotes, that the game is for everybody. Because once again, and I've said this plenty of times, the thing that I love about soccer is that it is inclusive. It is an equalizer. No one's, like anyone could play. Anyone could play this game. It doesn't matter what language you speak, what God you believe in, you know, any of that, like, your gender, your sexual preference, any of those things, it doesn't matter. All you need is a ball and some goals. And sometimes you don't even need goals. You could just use a backpack, a shirt, some sandals, whatever you had to your disposal to start a little, 5v5, 3v5, 3v3, whatever. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about this game, is that it is so inclusive. It doesn't matter where you come from. Like I said, you can play this game. And I do believe that we need to be able to showcase that. Like, it doesn't matter, who you are or what you believe in. You're welcome here. And I want to be firm with that it doesn't matter what you believe or who you are. You are welcome to be part of this game. You're welcome to be part of this community. With that being said, 19 out of the 20 English Premier League captains wore the armband. Sam Morrissey of Ipswich Town declined to wear his armband due to his religion, which he is a Muslim. I am not very familiar with Islam. I don't know how they view homosexuality. I would assume not very well. But and once again, um, the thing is with me, like I mentioned earlier, is that it is that okay. So in some sense, Islam's position on homosexuality is complex and varies depending on the individual community and country. A traditional reading of the Quran can condemn same-sex relationships and marriage. Some scholars point to the story of Allah in the Quran as evidence as God's condemnation of homosexuality. If you want to understand, like as far as legal, most Muslim countries, homosexuality is legal, such as Iran and Saudi Arabia. Can be a little bit extreme because it's punishable by death. Um, in certain is Islamic countries like Jordan and Turkey, homosexuality is not considered a crime. Um, so essentially, Islam doesn't have a central governing authority. Individuals and communities can make their own choices on this issue. Um, there are some mosques that are very inclusive to the community that perform same-sex marriages. Uh, so I think obviously, and it's kind of similar to, I guess, like, you know, Christianity in some sense. There's some people that don't believe in same-sex marriage. Um, it just depends, what your upbringing is and what part, uh, where you're from. And so, like Sam Morrissey, let me see. Sam Morrissey is from. I know he is an Islamic, but uh, let's see. Sam Morrissey. He is. Well, he's from England. Uh, well, where is his family from? Uh, Egyptian. And okay, so and so he was raised Muslim. He was born in England, but one of his parents is from Egypt. But so he refused to wear the armband due to his religious views on homosexuality, and uh, I don't think you can vilify somebody based on their beliefs. I don't think, like, I mean, if you can agree, I think what people need to understand, you can agree to disagree. Like, I think it's perfectly fine to do. You can just simply agree to disagree, and you can coexist with each other. Like, not everybody's gonna be all copacetic with everything. It's not all kumbaya and hold hands and sing kumbaya. It's just not gonna be like that. Probably maybe one day, but till then, we're just gonna have people that have conflicting opinions. The issue of the matter is just that people need to understand that an opinion is an opinion, not a fact. So, and I don't like. I mean, if people want to understand, like, I really don't like talking about religion. I really don't like talk about politics, but religiously, if you guys want to at least get an idea of who, a little bit about me, I was raised in a Christian home. I don't consider myself Christian. I do believe in God. I do believe that, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. He died on a cross to to forget to for forget forgiving us for our sins and all that. I do believe in that, and I know I said and all that like as if a kind of scoff like, but I do generally do believe that. I don't believe in Christianity though. I don't necessarily believe in religion per se. So theist, I think, is the correct term for me. Not atheist, theist. I know I saw agnostic, but like when I was reading agnostic, at least when I was trying to understand the definition of agnostic, it was just like more of like there is a belief that there is a higher power. I don't think that necessarily describes me fairly well because I do believe there is God. So I want that to be clear. But and like I said, I don't like talking about religion. I just don't. But Yeah, so I don't identify as a Christian. I believe in God. And so, um, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to hang out with Christians because obviously that's my family. Um, I've hung out with plenty of Muslims. I've hung out with plenty of Jews. Like you can coexist with everybody. You can view things the same. You can have different views. You can have contradicting views, but you can coexist. That's my whole point. I don't think that Sam Morrissey should be essentially vilified for refusing to wear the armband. Like, it'd be in a perfect world, it'd be cool if he just wore the armband, but like I also agree that you can't necessarily force things on people. And for Sam Morrissey, this is one of those things you just can't force on him. So he chose not to wear the armband. He wore the regular Premier League armband. And then there was another player, Mark Gahey, of Crystal Palace. He actually received criticism for writing "I love Jesus" and "Jesus loves you" on the armband. So they actually wore, they were supposed to wear these for 2 games. Funny enough, Ipswich Town and Crystal Palace was the second game, but the criticism because of for the first game he wore the armband and it put "I love Jesus." So according to Law 4 of I guess in the Premier League's book, players can wear emblems or slogans promoting football-related causes such as rainbow laces. However, political, religious, or personal messages are explicitly forbidden, with violations potentially leading to sanctions by competition organizers, national associations, or FIFA itself. So once again, I have no problem with the rainbow armbands, the rainbow laces. Like I have a rainbow like I actually have a Houston Dynamo Pride pre-match top, but I don't have a problem with that. But the thing that's weird to me is like, okay, so political, I agree. I'm just going to point that out. But religion is just like, how can you tell somebody you can't? Like, Ricardo Kaká used to, had a undershirt that said "Praise God." I think that's what he said, something along those lines. What do you do for players that do like the little, the Catholic cross thing, like things like that? Because if that's the case, I believe a lot of players do that before entering the pitch. Do you have a discussion with them like, hey man, you can't be doing that stuff? I think that's it's a bit. I understand why you try to avoid political and religious. I don't know what personal messages means, but like messages, because it's like could cause some controversy. And in reality, man, like, and once again, I'm not against this, but if you're saying that politics and religion can be controversial, at least if that's what you're going off of, why you don't let it be showcased on the field. I think I think you can throw the homosexuality or sexual orientation as another aspect of like maybe this is it. And once again, I'm not saying that you should. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like I feel like that's around the same. You can bundle political, religious, and sexual orientation in things that maybe it's not necessarily necessary to share it to the world, but like um if you're trying to like not have it be especially if you want people just to focus on the game. And once again, I think it's very ridiculous. Like um we've had that's the other thing, man. We've had players like you know do some sort of stand against like some wrongdoing of their country. We've seen once again, we've seen players do some sort of religious thing, whether it's before they enter the field, they do the Catholic cross thing, or players pointing up to God, when they score a goal. Players that have a shirt that says, in God or something about God, praise the Lord or something along those lines. And so like, but they have never said a thing. So I think that like, and for me. Seeing someone write "I love Jesus" on a rainbow armband, I don't I don't see the harm in it. I know that there is, I guess, like that viewpoint of like Christians, certain Christians, that that the whole Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve thing, that I guess that's what the worry comes from. But like, I mean, There's homosexuals that are Christian. There's homosexuals that are Muslim. There's homosexuals that are Catholic or Jewish. Like, we have those. Like, everyone, there's people that believe in God that are homosexual. It's not contradicting. I mean, God loves everybody. That's point blank. But like, I think for me, um, I don't see it as bad. I can see why someone doesn't like that to see that, but I don't see the harm in it, but at the same time, I can get it if you don't like it. But so Mark Gahey did receive a warning that, hey, you can't write "I love Jesus" on your armband. He's like, okay. So the second game, which was against Ipswich Town, so once again, and you have the image of Sam Morrissey now wearing the rainbow armband yet again, swearing the regular Premier League, which I'm totally fine with. And you have Mark Gahey this time wearing the rainbow armband, this time having it say "Jesus loves you." And they're just like, well, we don't know what to do now. Um, so just so you guys know, Morrissey and Gahey are not going to get punished. Um, I don't know if some people were hoping they would, but I don't see the point. Like, I don't think that they did anything wrong. They just didn't wear, like, one didn't wear the rainbow armband, and the other one just wrote either "I love Jesus" or "Jesus loves you," which I don't necessarily think is bad. But I mean, I think that's just one of those up for interpretation kind of things. But it was interesting. But that wasn't the only thing that happened also along with this. So Manchester United. So Adidas thought would be a really cool idea, and Manchester United also agreed that to have the players wear these LGBTQ plus jackets, so like a rainbow jacket, if you will, prior to their match against Everton. Well, that plan was immediately abandoned because Nasser Mazraoui refused to wear the jacket due to his religious beliefs, which he is a Muslim. And so let me see where he is. Nasser. Oh, there you go. So he's Moroccan, and so he did not want to wear the jacket because of his religious beliefs. Once again, he's Muslim, so similar to Sam Morrissey. Um, so he didn't want to wear the jacket. So then the club was like, "All right, no one wears a jacket." So especially if Mazraoui would be the only one to not have the jacket, it would be weird. Everyone's like, "Oh, wait, well, why he's not wearing the jacket?" So Manchester United didn't want Mazraoui to at least be singled out, which is kind of weird because you kind of this news leaked out. Um, it was kind of one of those like where not everybody in the locker room was happy with the decision. Like some guys were cool with wearing the rainbow jackets, but then there was, I think, and once again, yeah, this one's another weird one for me because I get it that you want to be uniformed, and I think it's kind of like funny because not funny about the jacket part, but like it's very similar to like the military. Whereas if one person doesn't have that item on, like say for instance, all right, this is actually a Marine Corps story that I went through. So we were going, so it was getting cold when I was going to my school, when I was in, learning my military occupation. Um, and it was cold, and so we all wore our jackets. Well, we found out one of the guys, in our class lost that jacket, and so because he didn't have the jacket, and even though everybody else had the jacket, we had to take off that jacket in order to look uniformed. And it was cold, you know. So we were very much frustrated with him, but with the understanding that like, hey, now we look uniform, even though we are all freezing cold. You just had to find a new option, which was, at least what I did was I wore a sweater, underneath my uniform. But And I think in this case, I am kind of happy that the locker room at least agreed to do this part. Like, oh, like, all right, if he doesn't want to wear the jacket, then let's all not wear the jacket because yes, it it's unfortunate that they didn't get to wear these jackets because obviously, the Adidas thought it'd be cool, Manchester United thought it'd be cool, and to show once again inclusivity for the game. But once again, I think people need to understand like while there's people that want to promote inclusivity, and this isn't an inclusivity thing, and it's kind of similar to like the people. We've had this discussion plenty of times where there's people that just didn't feel comfortable wearing the rainbow numbers, and I get why people are like it's just a number, like it's just a rainbow number, like who cares kind of thing. But like for players like Nosar Mazraoui and for Sam Morrissey, it doesn't mean that. And I don't think Morocco is one of those countries. Neither is Egypt that like, hey, you're gay, you're homosexual, you should be punished, kind of thing. I don't think they're one of those countries, but I could be wrong. But it's not so much for them that it's just a jacket or it's just an armband. It's what that jacket and armband represents, which is doesn't agree to what their studies of Islam is. And I think at the same time, when we're talking about inclusivity and tolerance, you have to be able to understand that like religion is still a thing, if someone's religious beliefs, it shouldn't be something that we condemn. And so I think I agree with that. I agree that you can't don't vilify somebody for that. Because once again, it's just their beliefs. They're not comfortable. And it goes back to like if someone's not comfortable with doing something, like you don't force them to do it. And I'm perfectly fine with that part. Like I'm actually glad that the locker room in some sense agreed to do this. It seemed like some players were not necessarily happy with this decision. Um, and obviously Adidas wasn't happy, but at the same time, you can't condemn someone for their beliefs, or we shouldn't be condemning anybody for their beliefs. Is my point. And so, and I'm fine. I'm glad that Morsi and Gahey didn't get punished because I don't think that this is like it's one of those things where you're just like it's disappointing, but at the same time you have to just understand where they're coming from. At least that's where I'm. At least that's how I'm reading it. Like that's not, like I'm like, oh, okay, it's unfortunate that you don't want to promote this, but I can't be mad at you for your beliefs, and that's fine. And so I think to like pretty much wrap this up in a little bow. The game, in my opinion, has always been about inclusivity, meaning that it doesn't matter where you come from, what you believe, who you are welcome to be part of this game. And with that being said, I think, sexual orientation, um, your gender beliefs, your gender orientation, while it should be respected um and make sure you feel welcomed. On the flip side, someone's religious beliefs is as well something to also make someone feel included in and I don't want to say respected because I think that that's not the right word I want to use, but just uh coexisting. The coexistence is always going to be a thing that I personally speak on because, like I said, you don't have to agree on everything. It's actually funny enough, like how I was taught in the military. Like you don't have to like each other, but you do have to work together. And I think that that's how I view with coexistence. Like you don't have to we don't have to agree. We don't. But I am going to help you when I can, and if you want, you can help me. And then that's how I view it. So I think that that's the best way to explain all this like in a nutshell. Even though as controversial as this may seem, I think at the end of the day, we are people and we have to be able to coexist with each other. We have to still function with each other. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Well, it does matter what you believe in, who you, you know, all the little things that makes us who we are. Like, it does matter, but we should be also able to coexist that even with disagreements. And I think that's another thing that we need to be able to do as people is we need to be able to agree to disagree. And I think that that's an important thing. Because when agreeing to disagree, and it doesn't mean giving up. At least that's not how I define it. I define it as you believe this and I believe that, but we can still coexist. So there's that. So we'll take a break and then we'll go right into Liga MX Playoffs. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canadips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canadip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. All right, guys, Liga MX, what the heck was that? Liga MX, the semifinals have concluded, and here we are. So before we get to the final, which we do have a special guest, by the way, for that, we'll talk about the semifinals. So the first matchup, first place Cruz Azul losing to Club America 4-3 on aggregate. First leg was a 0-0 performance. Cruz Azul had 66% of the possession, and Cruz Azul outshot America 7-6. Both of them had 2 shots on target. I think really much what do you expect from a derby matchup? Both teams are both from Mexico City, so you expected it to be very much a very even matchup. This is where record goes out on the wayside because it's a rivalry game. Now the second leg, America did win 4-3. Cruz Azul had 63% of the possession. Cruz Azul also outshot America 15-5, 6-4 with shots on target. The goals came from, initially this looked like it was going to be America just handling the game. Both the first goals came from America, which was in the 15th minute by Alejandro Zendejas and by Richard Sanchez in the 49th minute. Then Cruz Azul did respond in the 68th minute by Ignacio Rivero, which then America responded with a goal from Ramon Juarez del Castillo in the 72nd minute. And then Cruz Azul made things very interesting as Gabriel Fernandez scored in the 80th minute and Amari Morales Rosa scores in the 86th minute, which, once again, Liga MX rule states that if it is tied on aggregate, which at the time it was a 3-3 goal aggregate, then Cruz Azul would advance to the final, being that on aggregate the higher seed advances automatically. So the pressure was then on for America to get a goal so they can continue on in the tournament, which they did in stoppage time by none other than Rodrigo Aguirre in the 90th minute, 94 minutes into stoppage time, gets a penalty, puts in the back of the net, and America move on. Also to point out, there was 2 red cards in this game, which came from 4 minutes after scoring the penalty by Rodrigo Aguirre in 8 minutes in stoppage time. So that's something to be mindful. And Cruz Azul, Ignacio Rivero, basically near the end gets a red card as well. I told you, man, there's just something about Club America when it comes down to these when it gets to the tournament, as much as form needs to be put into consideration, this team just finds a way. When they are in this tournament, when they're in the playoffs, they find a way to go far. And here they are going into their 3rd straight Liga MX final. So hoping to win their 3rd straight Liga MX trophy. So it is, once again, it's just when you think of this tournament, when you think of the playoffs, you have to think of America. Like, they're born for this. They are meant for this. This is their heritage. This is their birthright. Some may say because they're the most successful team in Liga MX. I hate saying these things. I don't want to say good things about Club America because they're the They're the evil empire, but that's what they do. They are built for these moments. They are, it's just the prestige of America. Like it's just what they do. They perform highly in these moments. They are built for this. It is their heritage. As much as I don't want it to be their heritage, but it is their heritage because they have been able to beat the odds every single time. And that's why we're here. But so that is the first matchup. Second matchup, 5th place, Monterrey beating Atlético San Luis 6-3 on aggregate. The first leg was a 2-1 victory for San Luis. San Luis had 55% of the possession. San Luis outshot 15-9, 6-1 with shots on target. The goals came from it actually was a San Luis sandwich, with the first goal being from San Luis by Leo Bonatini. Yeesh. Okay, sorry about that. Leo Bonatini in the 30th minute, and then a Monterrey's goal came from Germán Betarame in the 66th minute, and then San Luis ends up getting another goal in the 80th minute by Ricardo Chavez, which puts San Luis in a favorable position going into that second leg, especially when that second leg, you get the win in your home stadium. Now all you got to do is go into Monterrey, go into Rayado Stadium, and try to either secure a draw or get another win against Monterrey, which I will say, similar to Club America, Monterrey, another one of these powerhouse clubs in Mexico. When you think of these tournaments, you think of Monterrey. Maybe they don't have the same number of trophies like America does, but it's still a name that you think of. Monterrey is one of the bigger brands in Mexico as well. And in that second leg, it's the atmosphere of Rayados. It's just a different beast, man. You just can't replicate it. Like, it is hard to replicate that kind of atmosphere as Monterrey wins it 5-1. Monterrey had 59% of the possession. Monterrey also outshot San Luis 26-8, 10 shots on target, 4 to San Luis's 4 shots on target. The goals started off with Monterrey as Oliver Torres scores in the 47th and 85th minute mark. And then Germán Betarame once again scores for Monterrey in the 52nd minute mark. San Luis gets a response by a goal from Sebastian Saez Lamongue from a penalty in the 75th minute. But then at that point, Monterrey gets a goal from an own goal by Daniel Moises Guille Moreno in the 82nd minute mark. And then Brandon Vasquez of Monterrey, the American, potentially might be going to the San Jose Earthquakes in the MLS. I mean, this game was very much over, but if there was any hope that San Luis was going to try to get something, well, Brandon Vasquez really just put the nail in the coffin, and Brandon Vasquez scores not the winner, but like I said, the this is over moment. Scores in the 90th minute with 1 minute to stoppage time, and Monterrey moves into the Liga MX Final. Like I said, man, Monterrey, it's just they are built for this. I had a feeling that we were probably going to see Monterrey in America. Like I said, man, America is just built for these moments. Monterrey is no slouch either. They're a very good team. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting when we get to the final. So we're going to go ahead and transition right over to the final right now. All right, guys, I told you guys I have a special guest for the preview of the Liga MX Final for the Apertura of 2024, and that is one of my great friends over at Golz. You can see him on Wake Up MLS plenty of times. He's Mr. Agenda, if you will. He always has an agenda when it comes down to it, and that's obviously the legend himself, Hitman Honda. Honda, great to finally have you on here at Insert MFC.
Hey, great to be on here, man. I mean, I've been watching your videos for quite a bit of time now. Like, ever since I got into the whole Golz TV, that's the first thing that popped up after Jose's Wake Up MLS. I'm like, oh, let me check this guy out. Pretty entertaining shows. Whatever you're talking about, bro. You guys always have me entertained.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Everyone enjoys a few moronic discussions, and that's all fine and dandy. Trying to make the game as inviting to everybody, and so I think that helps out. But appreciate that, man.
Listen, you got me on the episode. This is gonna be moronic as well too. All right, we're not gonna let the people down.
All right, I'm all for that. That is exactly. But before we get to Liga MX, man, I mean, the first question we always ask for anybody that comes on the show for the first time, uh, what got you into football, soccer, whatever you want to call it?
You know what? Everybody says like, oh, it's their dad, it's their uncle. Realistically, it was just me. Like, yeah, my dad had the World Cup on. Like, he just put it on just to have it on. But like, other than that, he wasn't watching it. I'd watch Mexico play, and that's pretty much like where I first got into it, and like even a little bit before then. But like, as far as knowledge goes, probably World Cup 2006.
Okay, that's a good World Cup. Yeah, that was actually probably the first time like me having some sort of ball knowledge came from was actually watching the 2006 World Cup. I was actually rooting for Italy to win it, and weirdly enough, they did. But yeah, I think my situation is kind of similar to what you say. Like, yeah, I watched the game with my dad a few times, but as far as like him sharing me, his thoughts on the game and things like that, it wasn't like my dad roots for Barcelona. I am a Real Madrid fan. Like, I mean, clearly me and him were not on the same page when it came to like the game itself, but I mean, I watched games with my dad. Honestly, I didn't even know I was Salvadorian until like a little further out because my dad rooted for Brazil. So I just this whole like as a kid, I just thought, oh, I'm Brazilian. So like, which is kind of probably like the funniest thing ever, because I was like, oh, my dad roots for Brazil. I guess we're from Brazil. And then it wasn't until somebody in my family was like, no, idiot, you're Salvadorian. And so I was like, oh, are they good at soccer? Nope. I was like, okay, well that makes sense why my dad doesn't root for them then. So.
Hey,
So,
they're on the come up though. They're on the come up. I see a future for them. I don't know
bro,
how far in the future, but I do see a future.
I don't know. Obviously, you probably don't pay attention to like the Salvadoran league, but the all time moment from
Isidro Metapan. I'll tell
huh?
you that.
What was that?
I'll tell you that. Isidro Metapan. I do pay attention to the Salvadorian league a little
Oh,
bit.
okay.
Like not recently, but I have.
All right, so that's where my family's from. And funny enough, just to see them, so I guess something happened with the system during their quarterfinal matchup, and they had to like bring fans into like the I guess the internet, like I guess where all the computer stuff is at to cool down the computer room so that way they can keep the game going. I thought that was like the most hilarious thing ever, but the solution was just getting like those little home fans, the ones that you put outside to
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the little ventiladores. Like I was like this is hilarious. Like I mean, it was funny that it just happened to be Isidro Metropan, where my family's from. That's my family's club. Like, that's who they root for. And so it was just funny to see that. And I'm like, hey. And I actually was watching that matchup, by the way. I was like, huh, where's this delay coming from? And it was because the computers were overheating. And I thought that was hilarious that the solution was fans. But obviously, you mentioned Mexico, that, you're Mexican American. Uh, Obviously we're talking about Liga MX. Do you have a club? I mean, first of all, I don't know why I'm being a terrible host. Congratulations, by the way, LA Galaxy, six-time MLS Cup champions. If you guys don't know, Honda is a huge LA Galaxy supporter. Um,
You know what? From the beginning, there's a clip going around real quick. I said that LA Galaxy would have a better season than Inter Miami. It came to fruition. I'll tell you the truth right here, right now. I did not think that was going to happen, but it did.
Technically, you guys had it from after the first round, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was way to just have a hot take. I mean, sometimes you just say shit and it maybe it works out. You know, of all the jersey bets that I end up making, don't do what I do. At least don't put anything like on the line. If you say something, just say it. I mean, I'm all for that, but yeah, don't make a bet. That's all I say. At least that's my word of
I was
advice.
close to doing a bet with Jose, by the way. Like him purchasing a LA Galaxy jersey if LA Galaxy has a better season, me purchasing an Inter Miami jersey. But I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't got the funds for that right now. So I'm just gonna back off real quick.
I just love Jose's option is not an FC Dallas kid. It's just like a kid of like two teams that has nothing to do with his fandom. But that's Jose, and I love him for that. But yeah, no, I think that's hilarious. But obviously, congratulations, LA Galaxy, MLS Cup champions once again. Uh, And I'll let you talk about that kind of near the tail end of the preview. But Liga MX, what's your familiarity with this league, and do you support any of the clubs here in Liga MX?
Well, if you're like everyone else, you're gonna hate me for my team, but it is Club America, right? Which, funnily enough, it was actually my tios who got me into it, and in a negative connotation because they all support Chivas. They get annoying with that shit, right? And this was before America toppled them over, right? This is when America had like 10 championships and Chivas had like what, 11, I think it was, or something like that. They were tied with Toluca. I'm like, you know what? America is probably gonna be on the rise right now. Let me go for them.
Okay. So you just happen to be rooting for the most successful team in Liga MX and the most successful team in the MLS.
It happens. LA, hey, listen, I'm literally like 30 minutes away. America, it's more understandable of like, oh, if you want to call me a freaking bandwagon or whatever, fuck it. But I do know the history of Club America to a certain extent, right?
Hey man, you don't gotta tell me anything. I mean, I support Real Madrid, and I've never stepped foot in Madrid. So I mean,
Yeah.
but I think, but do you have any? Is your family like from DF or
My
are they?
family is actually from Michoacan. So there's a lot of Americanistas over there too. So like the influence, it's there as well. Um, Monarcas Morelia, when they were in the Liga MX, I liked watching them play because they were just amazing when they played, bro. Especially like Rui Diaz right now, right? Obviously he's in Seattle, but that game versus Monterrey, where not only did he save Morelia from descending, but he took him to the Liga as well too, and he took him pretty far. That was probably one of my favorite seasons from
Yeah,
Liga
man.
MX.
The rebirth of Monarcas is just not the same. It's unfortunate, but obviously you've watched Liga MX. This is now like the third time we've seen this playoff format. How do you feel about the format? By the way, the play-in round and just the way the playoff is done here in Liga MX.
Um, can I be more than PG-13 about this?
Oh yeah, you can say fuck shit ass. Go for it, man.
This shit is absolutely fucking utter garbage. It sucks dick. All right. I'm telling you that right now. I Here's the thing, right? There are teams who shouldn't even be playing in the Liga that are playing, right? For example, Chivas and Atlas. No offense to Chivas fans, no offense to Atlas fans, but they did not play well at all this season. And they're getting an opportunity. And
Mhm.
here's the thing, for example, right? Other seasons, right? There are teams who just get unlucky and they barely scrape it to get into those play-in spots, right? Like
Mhm.
that, okay, that makes sense. Like for example, your Necaxas, sometimes your Santos, sometimes your Pueblas when they're having a good season, right? But when you know that they're playing trash and then they get in somehow, that's where I'm like, dude, why do we have this at this point?
Yeah, and I mean Atlas, yeah, they beat Chivas, but then get completely wrecked by Tijuana. So I mean, it just goes to show what like, do they really belong? Not really. But yeah, no, I feel the same way. I'm not a fan of the play, and I think it's kind of ridiculous that you have teams that have already played two or one more game going into a two-leg matchup to begin with. Clearly, your team didn't affect them in any way because they're here, and I guess we'll go right into it for the Liga MX final. So we're gonna have the fifth place Monterrey and technically eighth place, but I know you guys got the seventh seed because of the play-in. But I've been saying the eighth place, Club America. But I've said this, and I said like I don't have like a club. I have a soft spot for Toluca, but that's because of Cardozo and Vicente Sanchez and Hernan Cristante and Paulo da Silva. So that's like all back in the day, kind of why I
Yeah,
like that.
dude, that was an amazing team, by the way.
Yeah,
Amazing
and
team.
so I have a soft spot for that. But aside from that, this team has been just choke artists every single year. Like I had no faith that Toluca was gonna come out of that matchup with America. But like I've said this plenty of times, and maybe I'm just being crazy. But something about Club America and the Liga MX playoffs, regardless of where they are in the standings, they're just built for the playoffs and they're built for these moments. Am I that far fetched from saying that, or is that pretty spot on?
As far as from a standpoint, yes. But if you take a look deeper into it, like for example, some of the plays, like I get it. Okay, bad refereeing, it happens everywhere, right? But it seems like the media is really attacking on the America and like, for example, this past game versus Cruz Azul, there was the kickoff goal, pretty much kickoff penalty that never should have happened, and I agree with them. As an American fan, I agree with them. That should have never happened. But then they started talking about the elbow to that Rodrigo Aguirre gave, which it really wasn't an elbow. He went up for the jump and he won the ball. That's pretty much it. And then inside the penalty area, Chiquito Sanchez, massive dive. He dove, he acted it. But even if he didn't act it, they still pushed him to the ground. So that was a pen. However, at the end of the day, right, what people see is that it affects America in a positive way. And that's just one instance. But when it comes to their club, when you point it out for them, right? No, right? It's all fine and then at the end of the day, from my perspective, from what I'm seeing. But as far as America being one of those teams that just somehow makes it out, yeah, they are.
Yeah, I mean, and trust me, as someone that's a Real Madrid fan, I have to hear it all the time about VAR and all that. So, I totally get that sentiment. I think it's once again when you're the historically the most successful team in the league, and I mean, Club America is, and even, not even going from the past, like even more recently, they've been always the one of some of the top teams in Liga MX, but because they are so, and I mean there's no other like I watch Univision. They don't hype up any other team like they hype up America. It's maybe a little bit insane, but also because there's so many Club America fans. Like I think they're very much across the U.S. There's a lot of America fans, and some of them aren't even Mexican. I know some Salvadorians that root for Club America as well. But yeah, man, I mean, when you look at these teams, fifth place Monterrey and eighth place Copa America, America eighth place in Liga MX, a record of 8-3-6. That may seem like not a lot of games, well, because they play basically half a season. Um, this year they had 27 goals, 21 goals allowed, 6 goal differential. Their pathway, which they had an extra game going into this one because they played that playing round against Tijuana. They beat them in pens, then handled Toluca 4-0 on aggregate, and then just a dramatic 4-3 victory against Cruz Azul. Um, like I said, man, this team is now going into the third straight final. They're going for a three-peat, which me and Edward have said it constantly on this podcast. It is difficult to repeat in Liga MX, and as we said that it just happens to be the same period where we have Atlas going back to back, and now America going for a three-peat. So what the fuck do I know? And it's insane about America. But going into the season for you as an Americanista, did you even think this team would be able to get to their third straight final?
It might sound like kind of egotistical when it comes to it. In the beginning, in the very beginning, I thought, yes, because we're keeping the same coach. We're pretty much keeping the same players. We added a few players as well, too. Like, for example, Rodrigo Aguirre, even though at Monterrey, he didn't play as much. He didn't get as much goals, but for what he played, he put up the stats. We had, I think Chavairo was already there, but he was injured most of last season. And then, I mean, he just got recently injured. But when he started playing, he played like how he played for Feyenoord. Like, he was an amazing player. He benched Zendejas at a certain point in the Liga. So I was like, you know what? I'm confident. And then I see that the coach puts in Nestor Araujo in the back. I'm like, okay, yeah, the league is fucked for us. Like, no offense, but Araujo, God, he's not a good player at all.
No, I get that part. But yeah, I mean, America's here. The other team is Monterrey, another, I would say, well-known team from Mexico. Part of a very big rivalry with Tigres. They finished fifth in Liga MX. They had a record of 9-4-4, 26 goals this year, 19 goals allowed, 7 goal differential. So not that far apart from America. And they defeated Puma 6-3. and then also beat Atletico San Luis, which I guess you could say were like the darlings of this season, beating them as well 6-3. Monterrey, I think it's a weird team. They can beat you close, but then they can just blow you out, which I think we saw prime example was in these two matches with Pumas and San Luis, where they had the games where it was pretty quiet, and then the goals just started pouring in. When you look at Monterrey, man, like, is there anything that worries you about them? Versus I would say America's counterattack.
Anything that would worry me from Monterrey is if they're in a hot streak. And in general, right, in recency bias, Monterrey has been the verdugo del América, meaning they've kicked them out of liguillas and stuff like that. I mean, we have two, but from my memory, Monterrey has kicked us out more times than América has kicked them out.
Okay, so it's just a team that is like a massive thorn to America.
Like Toluca, like Pachuca, like a few others. But yeah, they are a massive thorn.
So you said when they get hot, they get hot. But what's like their what would you say is like their biggest strength as a team?
It's just a lot of names that are actually working, cohesive, like big names that are working, that are cohesive as well too. Like, I'm not saying that America doesn't have the players or star quality, but think about it. Jesus Tecatito Corona on the bench, right? With how good he is, he could be starting for any other Liga MX team, but he's on the bench for Monterrey. They got Oliver Torres. They got the guy from Betis. I'm drawing a blank here, but they got him.
Sergio Canales.
Yeah, Sergio Canales, Berterame. Like, these are big names from the Liga MX. Like, they're a very dangerous squad.
And then on top of that, coming off the bench, you got Superman Brandon Vasquez, to finish it off. Yeah,
Mr. Soon to be San Jose, according to rumors.
God, that is gonna be crazy if he goes to San Jose, because I mean they have Jeremy Abobasi, and that kid went from being like future prospecting star at San Jose to yeah, let's just not talk about him anymore. So it's been crazy about that. But yeah, kind of going back into this though. Um, yeah, man. I like Monterrey when they score in bunches, and I've seen games now where you've had players have multiple goals. I mean, Oliver Torres, like which banger of a goal that he scored in the 85th minute mark. I remember that goal. That was a really good one. Um, but I mean, with America, so obviously the first leg, which is going to be on Wednesday, which is when this episode drops. Uh, no Rodrigo Aguirre, right? He's out for a red card. Um, is that a worry? Or I mean, obviously Martin's going to be the guy that starts for America up top. But do you feel like Rodrigo, could that be the opportunity for Monterrey to take advantage of it?
It certainly can, but as well, like you said, we have Henry Martin, which, I mean, a lot of Mexicans like to hate on Henry Martin, but here's the thing. He's been the top goal scorer for the Liga MX for how long? Pretty long time. And you like, they say, oh, tap-ins, whatever. I mean, they forget that he brings down the ball, he looks for the plays, just like some of their favorite strikers. Need I mention Chicharito Hernandez, right? Need I mention Berterame, right? But we do have him. We have Ilian Hernandez, which he hasn't been too high ever since he left Pachuca. But if he gets one good game, boom, he's a very good sub. So, like, is he a piece that could definitely go up against Monterrey? Yes, because of the revenge factor, because he's a very good striker. However, we will have him for the Vuelta. He will be there. He might even start. So, as far as that goes, not too worried.
All right. So obviously, last time these two faced off, it was a 2-1 win for America. That was back in October. How do you feel this it's prediction time? How do you feel this game pans out? You can go game by game prediction, or you can just say who you think is going to end up winning the 2024 Apertura.
I have to go with my team, right? America. But again, Monterrey, I'm definitely not counting them out. It's definitely not going to be easy. Again, it's going to be very difficult. especially since they've been the better team during the league, even though we have beat them. But America is made for these games, as we've seen in the past, right? Cruzas, like if we're talking about going goal for goal, band for band, pretty much, right? America can compete. They just eliminated the leader and probably the most dangerous team from the Liga MX Cruz Azul right now. Give it a polemica or not, but they eliminated them and outscoring them. So as far as taking it to Monterrey, we definitely can take it to Monterrey, and I think we will win. We'll win the ida, probably like maybe 3-1, and then they'll win the Vuelta like 2-1, and we'll take it with like a close. It's gonna be very close though.
Yeah, I think for Club and when you talk about that second leg for Monterrey, because that's when usually things start getting more goals are piled on for Monterrey is in that game when they do get to play in the Rayados. And I think that that's a good point to mention. But I mean, when you look at Club America, I mean, you mentioned beating the best offensive, best defensive team in Cruz Azul, but they also silenced the team that had the leading goal scorer, which was obviously Toluca that had Paulinho. So I mean, clearly, whatever you did in the regular season does not matter to Club America. Hell, their place in the tournament, they're eighth place team, and they got the seventh seeds. So they frankly just don't care about what happened in the regular season. I think the first leg is going to be a very tight contested. I think you kind of see the pattern with Monterrey, right? And I think same thing you say for Club America. The first leg isn't necessarily always like a blowout. I mean, besides a 2-0 victory versus Toluca, but still in some sense, that second leg, Toluca wasn't necessarily out of it. It wasn't until, America scored 2 goals and then put them out of reach. But I think it since there's a trend right now going for both these teams, which the first leg is pretty not trying to give away too much. And I think if you're America, you do have Rodrigo in that second leg, and I think that that's going to be kind of that ace in the hole, if you will, for them. But I think it's gonna the same pattern's gonna happen again. Like the first leg, maybe it's a 2-1, 1-1, very close matchup, which that's what I hope for because I hate when the second leg is the game's already been blown out and there's no way in hell that the second leg at that point the second leg doesn't even matter. But I think America is just built for this again, and it'll be insane. I don't think I've ever seen a three-peat happen in Liga MX, but if there's a team that's going to do it, of course, it's going to be the historical team in Club America, which I don't have a reason to hate Club America because obviously I don't have a club, but it is the name you see everywhere, right? But yeah, I think this team is just good. They're just built for this. Monterrey, yes, they have the stars, but I've seen them also disappear playing times. And I think when it comes to the playoffs, America, they've shown out time and time again. So I'm going for Club America to also win their third straight, which I don't know how many titles are they at now. I think maybe like 13. So
Damn, I think it's 15 with this one. I mean, I've lost track because honestly, I've been focused on MLS because LA Galaxy is pretty much coming back. I was like, you know what? I'm getting bored of the Liga MX. America just keeps winning. Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna support them no matter what, but at the same time, I'm just getting tired of the same old being repeated. And then I see them like they're not doing so hot, so I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me pay attention to this real quick. Oh, boom, they make it to the play-in. Boom, they make it into the league. Okay, I'm kind of tired of this. It's the same. I'm like, I'm not trying to sound cocky. It's just the Liga MX is so dead now.
yeah.
Without the relegation, like
hmm
with the relegation battles, you see teams like Atlas, Mazatlan not giving a shit, and it's like, dude, you're drying up the sport that most Mexicans love.
Yeah, it goes back to like just the corruption that we see in Liga MX. I think there's moments where you see them trying to copy MLS, especially like this stupid format, the play-in format. I guess they watched the NBA one day and was like, "Yeah, let's do that. Like that looks cool." But I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I hate this. I want to see and I mean, it's not like the relegation was perfect by any means. Only one team went down, and I know some Liga MX teams. I know they had like some of that corruption where they were buy a team and then so they could stay afloat. I've at least heard stories about that, but it did have that drama. Like there was like a clear punishment. Like say what you want about Querétaro. Like I mean, maybe that's a team that I think obviously they moved on from that whole incident that happened a few years back. But I think at the same time, you were talking about trying to punish the team, relegate them down to the second division, and it sucks too, right? Because Cancun, having had the year that they had last season, and they're not, a team that maybe it would have been cool to see how they would fare in Liga MX, but they can't because there's no promotion anymore. So I agree with that, with what you're saying right there. With that kind of it does kind of suck not being able to see that, but I still find a lot of enjoyment watching Liga MX. I grew up watching a lot of Liga MX growing up because of the fact that like I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch Premier League. I couldn't watch that. Like I had Univision, so I mean like
Same.
that was my only thing I could watch besides international break and finding out that I'm not Brazilian, and so like I think that that's like the cool why I like Liga MX and I have a soft spot for the league and why I don't really trash it too much. I know like MLS and Liga MX try to have a beef with each other, but and even then, even with the lack of relegation, like there's still a lot of Liga MX teams that I'm just like, yeah, I think they could beat an MLS side. Like at the same time, like there's some. I mean, obviously, I think MLS has gone and it has moved up from where they were then, but still, like I don't see anybody that can like necessarily dethrone Club America in a CONCACAF Champions Cup if you get what I mean. But
Yeah, no, like here's the thing, right? America, if I'm not mistaken, has the same championships as Cruz Azul with seven, if I'm not
mhm.
mistaken, right? Those two, obviously, history wise. However, recent history, you take a look at the recent history, Pachuca, Monterrey, right? All you hear is Liga MX signings. Seattle Sounders, before them, it was LA Galaxy back in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. That long, it took them that long to catch up, sort of. Like I understand where that's coming from. Where the Liga MX is better than MLS. If I'm gonna trash a league, it's gonna be for a reason, right? If I'm gonna hype up a league, it's gonna be for a reason. And Liga MX, as far as hype up, recently, only because some games are actually good. Like for example, the lower tier teams, right? Which actually, surprisingly, they have been better. Like for example, Mazatlan versus Puebla, like they're scoring goals and stuff like that. Whereas the higher ups with Monterrey Tigres, El Clásico Regiomontano, going 0-0, like throughout the years, I'm like, okay, Liga MX is doing something right.
Yeah, no, 100%. But obviously, all right. So you heard the predictions from me and Honda. We both got Club America winning yet another title. We'll see what happens after this weekend. But Honda, thank you so much for coming on, man. I'm gonna give you your time to talk whatever you want to talk about. Obviously, we're actually gonna segue into my MLS Cup recap. So if you wanna if you wanna go off, man, go off. So this is your time to go ahead and also promote if there's anything you want to promote.
Hey, listen, again, is just my socials. They're all pretty much Honda first times, whether it's spelled out first or 1ST, right? All my socials are there. I mean, other than that, go watch the recent Wake Up MLS. Even though I wasn't on it, there were other people on it, and they gave specific details into why one team would win or the other one would win, right? But other than that, hey, pleasure of have or it's been an honor being on the show. Obviously, I didn't tell you, but I kind of wanted to come on one of these, right? And I have. So thank you for having me.
All right, man. Well, first of all, you're always welcome, man. If you want to come on, let me know. If there's something you want to talk about across the world of football, just let me know. I have no problem bringing you on, man. You're obviously always one of the people I enjoy talking to, especially at Wake Up. I mean, I love all the guys at Wake Up MLS, but I think for at least for quite some time, it's been you, me, and Davi kind of holding it down with Jose on Wake Up MLS, and I've obviously due to time restraints for everybody else, life goes on and all
Love
that, but. It's been obviously fun, and I've constantly trying to like find ways to bring you guys on. Luckily, you like Liga MX, and was able to help me. But if you ever want to come on, talk anything, or if you want to ask me if there's what am I talking about next, the coming week, I'll let you know, and you're more than welcome to come on, man.
Hey, listen, the next time I'll probably come on is when I have probably better internet connection. But yes, I will be on more times. You heard it here first. I'll be on Answer Name a lot more coming soon. All right.
I appreciate that, man. Also, once again, congratulations, LA Galaxy winning the MLS Cup for the 6th time. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and segue right into the recap of the MLS Cup.
Fight and win!
All right, guys, I want to give a shout out to the Belly Up Podcast Network, man. Check them out. Their website's BellyUpSports.com. Lots of articles that are being written over there, man. Great articles from great writers. College football playoffs are on the way, so that's gonna have a lot of attention. The NFL, playoffs are starting to get into form, so go ahead and keep an eye on that. Obviously, we got the NBA, we got trade discussions for MLB, so trade and free agency, man. So lots of things are happening, man. So if you guys want to see what's going on, man, check out BellyUpSports.com. Also, follow them on Instagram and the X at BellyUp Media and at BellyUp Sports, so you can see what's going on over there. Also, all the great podcasts that are part of the BellyUp Sports Network, like us, Insert Name FC, Corner Booth Pod, High Low Sports with Kelsey and DJ, 1420 Podcasts, Morgan Stacy, lots of great podcasts over there at Belly Up, so go ahead and check them out. Also, check out Golz TV. Once again, GolzTV, man. It's a great streaming platform for a lot of content creators that cover the beautiful game. So if you guys want to see what the Americans think about soccer, football, whatever you call it, that's where you can go check it out, man. Follow them on Instagram at GolzTV. Once again, at GolzTV, Golz.TV on Instagram, and on the X at GolZ_TV. So Golz_TV. To follow them on the X. And of course, you guys like the intros and outros of this podcast. They're made by none other than Roosevelt Spencer, the namesake of the Roosevelt Spencer Player of the Year Award. Make sure you guys go vote. Go vote for your Player of the Year. We love Spencer so much, man. He makes amazing work for us. He has to edit our voices for the singing beds. And by the way, next episode, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah, he does a lot of stuff for us, man. So we appreciate him so much that we named our Player of the Year Award after him, the Roosevelt Spencer Player of the Year Award. And he's the best, man. And if you guys like the beats and you need some beats of your own, follow him on Instagram at That Guy Dope. Once again, at That Guy Dope, so he can take great care of you like he always does with us. Whether you have a podcast, a YouTube channel, or maybe you're an aspiring rapper or singer that you need some beats done, some beat work. Well, Spencer is your guy, man. So check him out, man. Once again, at That Guy Dope on Instagram, so he can take good care of you like he always does with us. But all right, next week is our end of the year episode. So Edward pays a singing bet for last season, and we'll look at the Power 5 leagues. We'll look at the tables. We'll see how all of them are looking. We're also going to recap Liga MX. So we'll wrap up the final, and a lot of good stuff. So I can't wait, man. And so for you guys to get a good idea, we're going to, after that episode, we'll take a break. We'll probably come back. The goal would be to come back January 10th. That would be the plan. But let's say January 17th. We'll do, January 17th. That's when we'll come back from the break, which I believe, let's see, because this is episode 198. So 198, 199. So starting out 2025 will be our 200th episode. So yeah, that's going to be cool. So, but yeah. So thank you so much for listening. Catch us next week for our end of the year episode. Take care, guys. Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website. All right, MLS Cup, the final. 2nd seed Los Angeles Galaxy defeats 7th seed Red Bull New York 2-1. Red Bull New York had 59% of the possession. LA outshot Red Bull New York 12-9 and 6-3 in shots on target. The goals came from the Galaxy initially by Joseph Paintsel in the 9th minute and by Dejan Joveljic in the 13th minute. Red Bull New York did eventually score a goal to at least cut the lead by half by Sean Nealis in the 28th minute mark, but the second half was just a straight defensive performance by the LA Galaxy, a team that maybe many people wouldn't necessarily have given them a lot of props defensively, but they did put up a solid defensive shift in the second half, and wow, the LA Galaxy have won their 6th MLS Cup. Most in MLS, I mean, they've had the most in MLS history, but now they've extended that MLS record with their 6th MLS Cup, which, if you guys want to understand this, LA Galaxy ended their 10-year drought of MLS Cups. So last cup that they won was like literally 10 years ago. Last season, just so you guys have an understanding, the LA Galaxy was 13th place in the West with a record of 8 wins, 12 draws, and 14 losses with a goal differential of -16. This season, LA Galaxy finished 2nd in the West with a record of 19 wins, 7 draws, 8 losses, a goal differential of 19, and are the 2024 MLS Cup champions. This is what I'm saying that you're not going to get in any other league. Like, you're not going to get this. Well, maybe Liga MX, but you won't get this in the Premier League. You will not get this in Europe. You're not going to get a team that was literally at the bottom. Maybe not literally at the bottom, but they were a bottom feeder team. You know, and make a few roster decisions, maybe not change the roster too much, to be honest. And they turn their season around and become the best team in the MLS. You don't get that anywhere else. You're not going to get that kind of turnaround. This is one of those things that I say point MLS. Like, this is what you get that other leagues can't give you. Yes, I know that in the Premier League you'll get an occasional Leicester City. You'll get the Leicester City run. You'll get a Bayer Leverkusen undefeated run. You'll get a Lille, winning the Ligue 1. But it just doesn't. But that's it. Whereas in the MLS, I feel like you get these kind of bounce back stories more often than not. So this was a great final. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Both teams put in one hell of a shift. But yeah, as far as MLS Cups, the best one is still LAFC and Philadelphia Union. That was one hell of a final. I will put the Dynamo MLS Cups up there because obviously they're my 2 MLS Cups that I got to watch my team win. But yeah, these were some good MLS Cup finals, man. These were some good MLS Cup final. This was a good MLS Cup final. I would say top 5 MLS Cup final. I think both teams did very well. I think the whole LA New York thing is another thing that was pretty cool. But yeah, and on top of that, Marco Reus, he finally wins his first club title, first professional club cup. That if you guys don't know anything, if you guys aren't really familiar with Marco Reus, I mean, he's been loyal to Borussia Dortmund, which if you guys know the Bundesliga, it's always been Bayern Munich that wins it. He's been in 2 Champions League finals, didn't win those. The time that he would have won a trophy, he got injured for the German national team, which was the year that Germany won the 2014 World Cup, and he was supposed to be on the roster. He got injured, so he didn't play a single game. And so, yeah, Marco Reus just hasn't been able to feel that sense of success. And for me, at least, that's what I was rooting for more than any of those. Of course, along with Ricky Puig, who I don't know how torn that ACL is now, because that guy was partying. It's not Jack Grealish levels, but it was pretty close, man. Ricky Puig was definitely having the time of his life. But yeah, congratulations to the LA Galaxy for winning their 6th MLS Cup. This is probably the only time I ever give this team props because, I will say this, man. Like the turnaround of the LA Galaxy, they went out and got Gabby Peck. They went out and got Joseph Paintsel. They really built the team essentially around Ricky Puig, who honestly, amazing signing for the LA Galaxy because this guy is a talent. Like he is well, I don't want to say world class, but he is definitely a guy that should probably still be in Europe. But no, yeah, they gave him weapons. Dejan Jovalic, I think, gets his opportunity. Obviously, he had to be like kind of second fiddle to Chicharito, and now that he's getting his chances, man, I mean, he's been, showcasing what he can do. Scoring a goal in the MLS Cup Final just showcases how big of a player that he is for this LA Galaxy team. And I think, just a lot of smart moves that the club made, which is funny because it's not like to what you usually expect from the Galaxy. Galaxy has always been that team that like, oh, let's go get especially after getting David Beckham, have always been like, oh, let's just go get a Steven Gerrard. Let's go get, a Robbie Keane. Let's go get a Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They've always been kind of affiliated with the let's go get these big name stars and join our team. And for them to, the way they did it this year, because Joseph Paintsel, I didn't know anything of him. Same thing with Gabby Peck, man. I didn't know much of him, but these were significant signings. And I mean, so the Galaxy definitely came in as not the Evil Empire. I think the Evil Empire title is definitely going to Inter Miami right now, even though they haven't won a thing. But that is kind of an amazing turnaround. Like I said, you just don't get these kind of turnarounds. Like you're not going to see these kind of turnarounds in any other league. Maybe Liga MX, but like more so than not, you're going to see this in MLS. Like teams are going to turn their seasons around. Teams are going to become bottom feeders. Like those are things that you're going to see in this league. And so I think that it's cool that we got to see LA Galaxy. I think for me, they were like clearly just one of the better teams in the league. I know a lot of people, and Inter Miami was definitely a good team. But like as far as from the West, I thought the LA Galaxy was the best team in the Western Conference. So solid performance for them, man. Congrats. So, there's that, man. But all right, man, games to watch this weekend. We have a lot of games to watch this weekend. We have the second leg of the Liga MX Final. So make sure you get ready for that, man. We got the Scottish League Cup Final, which is the Old Firm Derby, Celtic versus Rangers. Make sure you guys watch that. That is the oldest derby in football. So you're going to see it. Celtic's probably going to come away with it, but I just need you guys to understand the passion of that rivalry. Club Brugge and Racing Genk taking on each other over in Belgium. And we got Racing Club versus River Plate in Argentina. In Ligue 1, we got Marseille versus Lille and PSG versus Lyon. In the Bundesliga, we got SC Freiburg taking on VfL Wolfsburg and RB Leipzig taking on Eintracht Frankfurt. In the Serie A, we got Udinese taking on Napoli and Bologna taking on Fiorentina. In La Liga, we got Celta Vigo taking on Sevilla and Real Sociedad taking on Las Palmas. And in the Premier League, we got Nottingham Forest taking on Aston Villa and the Manchester Derby, Manchester City taking on Manchester United. That is going to be a juicy one. Spencer versus Edward for the jersey bet, if you guys wanted to know. Yeah, so good weekend for me. I don't have to worry about anything that's going on. Manchester City, Edward, I don't know. Manchester United hasn't looked that great, but we'll see what happens with them, man. But all right, we'll go ahead and take one more break and then we'll wrap this show up.